Hey guys, it's Gavin here again from Deep Blue Tutorials. Today what we're going to do is we're going to create our very first WordPress theme. And then when we create that theme, we're going to install it on the WordPress site we created yesterday. Now first what we've got to do is we've got to open our web browser, go to localhost slash WordPress or whatever the name of the site you created, or the name of the folder of the site you created is, slash wp admin. Now, this is the back end of our site, and what I'm going to do in a new tab is just open up the site itself. Now remember, this WordPress here, this is just the name of the folder that contains the site. So if you named yours something different, make sure you put that there, but by default it's set to WordPress. So now we just open that site as well. And this is just the basic theme that WordPress uses. It's called 2011. It's a very nice theme to use, but because every person that installs WordPress will automatically get this theme, it won't set your site apart from anybody else's. Now all we're going to do today is we're going to create our own theme. It's going to be a very, very basic theme. It's not going to have any styling in it at all. All it's going to do is display whatever posts you've created. So first what we've got to do is we've got to go back to our text editor. Again, I use Sublime Text here. You can use whatever text editor you want, it makes no difference whatsoever. What I'm going to do is create a new file. I'm going to press File, I'm going to press Save. I'm going to go to that folder of our WordPress site that we created in the htdocs folder, into WordPress. Now in here, go into WP Content, go into Themes. Now you see there the 2011 theme that I was just talking about. That theme is the one being called by default. There's also a 2010 theme there, that's just a slightly older version of it. What we're going to do is we're going to create our own theme. So right click here, press New, Folder, and I'm going to call this theme Deep Blue. That's just the name of the folder, it's not the actual name of the theme, so you can call that folder whatever you want. Go into here, and I'm going to save the file that I just created as index.php. And now I'm going to create another file, and I'm going to save that file. This is going to be our CSS file. So again, we're in that folder we just created, and you have to call it style.css. Now these names aren't optional, these are the two files you will definitely need in order to create a WordPress theme. So make sure that when you're creating them you call it index.php and style.css. I'm going to save that as well. Now in this style.css, this is the file where we're going to add all the styles to the theme, as you can tell by the name. But because we're not adding any styles to the theme, we won't need to do any of that today. What you do need to do in this file is you need to basically describe your theme, and this is how WordPress will get the name of the theme, the version, its description, and its author, and all that. So all you have to do is add a comment up the top here. Make sure you follow this to the letter. You add the first parameter is theme name. I'm going to call it Deep Blue. The second parameter is description. I'm just going to say your first WordPress theme. The third parameter will be author. I'm going to set mine to Gavin. And the final parameter will be version. And just set it to 1.0. Now I'm going to close that comment out. Now there are other parameters you can add. They're not all necessary, but of course if you're developing a premium theme you'll want to add in as many as possible, such as things like tags and author URL and description or theme URL. So you can find out more of them online, and in later tutorials I will be doing more advanced template declarations. But that's all you got to do there. So I'm going to press File, press Save. Now if we go to our back end of our site, we can go into this Appearance tab here and see Themes as a drop down. Click on Themes, and then you'll see here that the theme we just created is showing up here, and you can activate it, you can preview it. Now I'm not going to activate it yet. You can of course, but it will just, because your index file is empty, it'll just show up blank. But as you can see, your theme that you just created, all it took was one folder and one declaration in the CSS file, and automatically your site recognizes that theme. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my text editor. I'm going to go into that index.php file, and I'm going to add a bit of code to this, just basic WordPress code. It's a bit of PHP, a bit of HTML, and all this will do is show a bit of content on our site. So what I'm going to do here is HTML, you can follow along with this and type it in yourself, equals http://w3w3.org/1999/xhtml. That's just a basic declaration, and if you've any experience with HTML or PHP, you'll know that you have to add these in at the start. Notice that I haven't defined it as XHTML 1.0 or 1.1 transitional. Now you really should, but because this is just a basic tutorial, I'm not gonna. Add in the head of our HTML file or PHP file. Now I'm going to link to the style sheet. Obviously it won't do anything at the moment, but still. Now this is where we're going to use a bit of PHP, and these are WordPress tags that are added in only for WordPress. You can only use these in WordPress, they won't work for anything else. They're basic functions that are added in the WordPress directories. So first what we're going to do is declare PHP. Now we're going to use a blog info tag, and then in that set the parameter to style sheet URL. We're going to close that. We're going to add our semicolon, and we're going to end the PHP. And I'm going to give a brief explanation of this. Blog info, you're going to get used to using this because it's used to drag out any names, any URLs. Basically, you will use this blog info function a lot in every PHP file you develop for WordPress. Right here, all it's doing is, because we have passed in style sheet URL into that, it's basically just giving the URL of the style sheet, and that style sheet has to be called style.css. So because WordPress is in its own theme folder and then in its own WordPress folder in that WP content folder, it'll be very hard to, it's not possible for you to link to that from every single page on your WordPress site, because they're stored in databases and in folders and everything. It's just not possible. So this blog info tag, or this blog info function, basically just links to that style sheet URL, and there will be many more parameters we can add into this later on. Now all we're going to do is press rel equals style sheet and type equals text/CSS. Close off the link tag. Then we're going to add a title to our site. Now again, we're going to use PHP to get the title, to get the actual name of the site. We're going to use that blog info function again, and in here we're going to type in name, and all that will do is give you the name of the site that you entered when you installed the site. It's just going to drag that out of the database for you and show it up as the title on your site. Close off the title tag. And we'll close our head. Now we'll open the body of our page. Now I'm going to close off this body tag here just to make sure. We'll close off the HTML and give ourselves a bit of space. Now in here we're going to use what WordPress calls the loop, and the loop basically just drags out every post you've created, shows it in a big long list showing the title, and you can set what it shows, but here we're going to show the title, the time of the post, the author, and the content of the post. So to start it off, we're going to open our PHP brackets. We're going to use an if function. If have posts while have posts the post. Now if you're familiar with PHP, this won't look too harrowing to you anyway. All it's doing is questioning the database if there is posts. So if you have published a post, and when you install your WordPress site there is a sample post there by default. So if you have posts, then we go into this while loop, and while there is posts, drag out each individual post. So this while loop, basically every iteration of this while loop will show one post. So now we're going to go in deeper into this loop. For every post that there is, we're going to create a class called post inside a div, and inside each of these divs we're going to have the heading of our post in a h1 tag. We're going to link to that post using another WordPress only PHP function, which is the permalink. That will basically give you the link to your WordPress post. We're going to close off our a tag. We're going to open another PHP bracket, and we're going to get the title of our post, and that's going to show as the actual heading. And we're going to close off our a, and we're going to close off our h1. So that'll show off the title. Now we're going to show the time of the post and the author. So posted on, which will just be the plain text that's shown. Open our PHP brackets. The time. This is another WordPress function. It's just going to basically show you the time of the function, or the time of the post. Now I'm going to set a few little parameters in this. So capital F, JS, or lowercase j, capital S, and Y. And that's going to show it as the day of the post, the month of the post, and the year of the post. So you'll see it when it comes out. Posted by, and then we're going to open another PHP brag, and this will just link to the author of the post and all their other posts. Now because we just installed it and there's only one post, that will only link to one post. And again, that's another WordPress function, and you'll be getting used to this because throughout the whole thing they'll all be WordPress functions that are just only to be used with WordPress. They can't be used with anything else. So now that's showing the title of our post, the date of our post, and the author, and a link to the author. So now we're going to show the content. So we'll create another div, and we'll give it a class of entry. And inside that div, we'll open another PHP bracket, and we'll use another WordPress function called the content. And all that'll do is show the content of the post. So any content the user has entered will show in that div. We're going to close off our original div, and now we're going to handle the else, we're going to end the while loop, and which is just, again, if you've any familiarity with PHP, just the end while. And now we're going to press else. Close off our PHP. Now this will just handle the else. So up here we have said, if we have posts, do the following. Now if we don't have posts, we have to create a case for that. So if we don't have posts, we're just going to show a little message saying, sorry, but we couldn't find any posts. My typing isn't very good tonight. And then we're going to open our PHP again and just end the if. And that's pretty much it. Now, again, just to recap, I know this is a long video for very little content, but it's best to learn it properly. So, if we have posts, we're going to go through this while loop. While there is any posts, we'll go through each individual post. For each individual post, we'll open a div called post. We'll show the title of the post. We'll link to the actual post. We'll show the time of the post. We'll show the author of the post. We'll link to all the author's other posts. We'll open a div called entry. We'll show the content of the post, and that'll do for each individual post. if there is no posts, we're going to show this error message saying sorry, but we couldn't find any posts, and that's it. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back to our browser. I'm going to reload this page. You don't need to, but I may as well. Now in this manage themes, again in the appearance themes folder here, we're going to activate that theme that we just created. Now the new theme is activated, so we go over to the site and we'll reload that page. And here you have it. The title of our post, a link to the actual post, posted on March 10th, 2012 by Gavin, and the actual content of the post itself. And that's it, guys. That's your very first WordPress theme. Now I know it's again I know it's a long video, and I know it's a long video for very little content showing and very little progress, but these are the basics, and trust me, you'll eventually start flying through it once you learn off the basics. So if you can create that, and realistically that should only take 2 or 3 minutes to create, and it's taken us nearly 15. But if you can create that, you've learned the basics, and you can go on from there and learn a lot more. And in the next video, we're going to be styling our theme a bit. We're going to be adding more options, and we're going to be using more of these WordPress functions, and we're going to get you used to these WordPress functions. So thanks for listening, guys. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.